Hi, my name is Hugo Pilate. I am a designer and project manager at Place. Today, I'd like to share with you my experience overseeing the operations of the Fast Forward program, an 8-month experience designed to facilitate the access of newcomer women to positions of leadership in the corporate sector. During this talk, I will try to share with you my experience of program manager and what my role as a mediator between the catalysts and the corporate sector has taught me on the idea of open-mindedness, flexibility, respect, discovery, or curiosity. First off, a little context. The Fast Forward program took place from September 2021 to April 2022 and was the fruit of a coordinated effort between public and private actors, including L'Oréal, the cosmetics brand, École des Ponts Business School, Place, and the French Ministry of Interior. Through this program, we were able to work with 25 newcomer women, meaning 25 women who had been in France for less than 5 years, and who came from different cultures, different levels of professional seniority, and different residency statuses. In order to ensure the relevance of the program for each of our participants, we provided different forms of support, including bi-weekly challenges to practice key transferable skills like communication and negotiation skills in front of corporate actors, one-on-one professional coaching, master classes organized by our corporate partners, and some internship or employment opportunities. My role in all of this was to be present at every event and to function as the facade of the program, for the partners and catalysts alike. This also meant that I was the person responsible for the catalyst experience at large, including their ability to connect with the French corporate ecosystem, their certification, their coach relationships, and some of the personal challenges they faced over the course of the program. None of this work would have been possible without the position of Catalyst Coordinator held by Razan Ismail, who ensured the participation of catalysts and who was also in close communication with our catalysts or participants. So if we were to speak about open-mindedness, flexibility, respect, discovery, curiosity, I'd like to open with the following question. What does it mean to have a white Franco-American man represent the corporate ecosystem to 25 newcomer women? And what does it mean to have a white man represent 25 newcomer women to the corporate world's representatives? How does this affect my job of mediation between corporate sector and newcomer talent at large? Namely, it meant that going in, I knew my lived experience and privilege might bring me to have a different understanding and outlook on the French corporate ecosystem, French society, and its welcomingness or lack thereof to newcomer talent at large, and newcomer women more specifically. This meant that by default, I would need to expect to challenge my own assumptions, have sometimes difficult conversations, and to have to seek outside perspectives when resolving challenges that came up. It also meant that as a program aiming to foster newcomer talent leadership, Place still associated power and executive decision-making with the white man, which is not inherently an issue, but something that I hope can change in the future. Now that you have a little more context about my position regarding the program, I'd like to share 2 key facets of my work during which my intended open-mindedness, respect, and flexibility were challenged, and what I learned from these experiences. The first point I'd like to address is the kind of flexibility needed in the way you, as a team or program manager, understand the value of your own program. Is what you set out to offer really the core value of the program? A fundamental aspect of the Fast Forward program is to help participants get acquainted with corporate culture. I mentioned briefly the kind of immersions we offered through weekly exercises that create a safe yet challenging environment in which participants can familiarize themselves with the kind of vocabulary, rituals, or expectations of the corporate sector. However, since many of the catalysts come from many different levels of seniority or even sectors. We had some catalysts who had 10 years of experience in their country of origin doing the job they were seeking, whereas others were looking to enter the corporate world for the first time. This meant that each catalyst might, of course, feel challenged and engaged, but could also feel lost, intimidated, or bored. It was therefore crucial for me to work with Razan as catalyst coordinator and the facilitators from our team to keep track of how the catalyst felt about each challenge and how each challenge could be improved. In hindsight, these challenges were one of the most successful aspects of the program. They were engaging and created a strong sense of community thanks to the recurring events and calls. In fact, many catalysts have shared with us that after the program they have felt more confident and better prepared to look ahead, try the job interview they were afraid of applying for. And this is what we hoped would be the core value of the program. However, I feel like this cultural familiarization to the corporate sector, even if it's the core proposition of the program, was almost secondary to the need for a community of practice, a place for connection. What I've come to learn over the past 8 months on this program is just how wide the variety of ways in which isolation may manifest, especially for newcomer women, feeling alone in the face of a tremendous challenge, which is finding meaningful or desirable careers as foreigners in France. You may have put your career on hold to raise children, you may have limited desirable options, and the path that lead to them are often treacherous. This can have an impact on your motivation, your ability to plan ahead, and drastically affect your confidence. I've realized this from exchanging with the catalyst, that beyond the initial premise of corporate familiarization as our core value, the bi-weekly events were also a way to create stability and reduce, to some degree, the feeling of isolation. This was a valuable insight that I wish had been made more central in program structure. Now, the second insight I'd like to share with you has to do with another core value proposition of our program, helping catalysts fast forward their career. This might mean being better prepared for a job opportunity. This could be extending the reach of their network, but it's also being recognized and associated with the brands co-certifying our program, like L'Oréal and École des Ponts Business School. So we try to support the catalysts in that process by having these established brands who co-certify their participation in the program show up on their resumes, on their LinkedIn profiles, through very clear, explicit certification. In order to be certified for completing the program, the catalyst must successfully complete the challenges mentioned earlier, checking off 5 different skills. And as the program manager, I am responsible for overseeing this process as well. I must, on the one hand, represent the rigor and expectation of the corporate ecosystem to the catalysts, while advocating for any tweaks or changes that might need to be made to the program to make the program more accessible to our catalysts. This position can be frustrating and difficult at times, as it may result in having catalysts unable to pursue the program or dealing with partners unwilling to acknowledge manifestations of personal or professional growth beyond their initial idea of what growth might have meant. It is a peculiar situation also because in a program like the one like Fast Forward, which advocates for the empowerment and self-initiative of catalysts, having a rigid set of metrics for certification can feel more dogmatic than encouraging of growth for those on the receiving end. So it is your responsibility as program manager to push, pull, and manage expectations from all parties accordingly. Many catalysts in our program join us because they have struggled to find meaningful employment. Either they are struggling to find work on par with their pre-existing experience, or work building on their experience in a space of interest. Navigating these questions, projecting oneself, requires many twists and turns, facing forks in the road, but often programs like us expect or even require definitive answers. Where will you be in 5 years? Which sector do you wish to be involved with? I mean, of course, these are important questions, and their answers are meant to change for most of us on a daily basis. But according to me, many programs, and Fast Forward is no exception, put more emphasis on the destination rather than the journey. This is why, with Razan, we have tried to encourage Fast Forward catalysts to share some of these questions with us and openly navigate the various forms of uncertainty they were facing. I think the program could have been a lot more impactful if it did, in fact, leave more time for open-ended discussion and voicing areas of uncertainty. Navigating this uncertainty, choosing between job opportunities, pivoting a career path, these are the skills that multi-partner programs like Fast Forward struggle to celebrate. It's hard to build consensus around. It is therefore the role of the team, program manager, catalyst coordinator, to embody and advocate for this flexibility to be recognized and valued. The final observation I'd like to make is about the concept of diversity and inclusion in the corporate sector. At Place, we avoid this terminology of D&I, diversity and inclusion, to instead advocate for newcomer leadership. Diversity and inclusion efforts often aim to channel diversity rather than foster it. This is of course impossible to generalize. However, I would nonetheless encourage you watching this video to ask yourself how your program contributes to fostering leadership, growth, or flourishing of the individuals you are supporting, rather than finding pre-existing boxes or pipelines to fit them in. Empowerment is not something you give. There is no certainty that empowerment will happen, or that your idea of empowerment is relevant to those you aim to empower. All you can do is try your best to remain as critical as possible of your best intentions. They're not always the best way for you to be of help. Thank you.